right, hi everyone. How are you today? And today we're doing something a little bit different. I'm just giving you some advice from my life, advice from my own life, and this one is actually about two things: values and toxicity, and how using and having values can help you to avoid literally any toxic situation, and how it can also help you to not be toxic yourself. So let's get started. Okay, so first let's talk about values. Values are probably one of the most important things in life, especially in life as an adult, but also in life as a young person. And values really start to pave the way for who you'll be, where you'll go, what you'll do, and what you will allow to happen in your life. So those are four really big things. And it starts to shape the outcome too. And the reason that's so important, because when you have values, you stand for something and you know what you stand for and you know where you're going. When you don't have so many values, or you're not sure what those are, or anything kind of goes, then it kind of goes to this thing that anything might happen. And so since anything could happen, you could find yourself in these kinds of toxic situations. I feel like maybe we should do a whole YouTube on values and how to build them and what that looks like. But for the purpose of this right now, we're going to talk about how having values helps you to avoid these kinds of toxic situations. You can't completely avoid them. We're always going to run into something that may not be exactly healthy, but it's not a place we should stay. It's just kind of a place we should hopefully just sprint by, Carl Lewis style, Usain Bolt style, if you're like a little younger than I am. So for me in the past, whenever I found myself kind of stuck in this place or a situation that was not exactly healthy, whenever I look back at it, I had somehow gotten away from my values and what I believed in, and kind of let this situation sort of creep in. And when you stick to your values, you're able to avoid these kinds of situations. So number one, knowing what you stand for and then sticking to it. If you do not stick to it, then anything can definitely happen. Going from there, it's really about sticking to those and making them a lifestyle. So it's the life that you lead, and those values will take you where you need to go and less of where you don't need to go. So sticking to your values is of utmost importance. It's like sticking to your guns, stay to them. And some people will challenge you. Some people will challenge your boundaries. Some situations will also challenge your boundaries too. And knowing what your boundaries are, because guess what? Those are set up by your values. Do you see the motif here? I keep talking about values. And so what if you already have these people in your circle, you may say, that have these, who are possibly a little bit toxic? And the answer to that is that when you have those and you draw your line, either they're going to be a part of where you want to go, or hopefully they're going to self-eliminate. Because when you stand firm to that, a lot of people who are toxic, they don't necessarily want a lot of resistance. They're looking for a path of least resistance. They're possibly looking for a pity party, and they're possibly looking to manipulate you into doing what they might want. But if you stand true to your ground, they're going to go actually find someone else where they can have their playground. And this whole process of self-elimination, I have found for me, has been the kindest way to allow people to go where they need to go and to let me go where I need to go. This may be funny, but they probably belong in a place where they can have the drama and the toxicity, but that might not be for you. Hopefully it's not for you. And if you're watching this, it's probably because it isn't for you. And it's the kindest, most kind-hearted thing to be able to let them be where they want to be. And most of all, it doesn't have to be a lot of shouting. It doesn't have to be a huge confrontation. It doesn't even have to be embarrassing. And this leads to another factor in being able to get toxic people and situations out of your life, is the truth. Leading with the truth. By always telling the truth, and not like months later, days later, or years later, but right away, telling the truth of what is your truth and what is your value, allows people to know right then and there what you stand for, what you will allow, and what is next for you, and honestly what's next for them. What's next for them might be, hey, let's go on this road together. And what's next might also be like, hey, I can't actually be a part of your truth, so I'm going to go find my own truth somewhere else. But the best part about that is that you'll get to where you're supposed to be quicker. And sometimes that's difficult, especially like in terms of relationships. When you want to be in a relationship with someone, maybe you think they're hot or cool or whatever it is that you like about that person. But when you find that maybe there is not that alignment there and there's some toxicity there, then by telling your truth for what you stand for right away, disagreeing or sharing your opinion on how you feel about something allows them to know who you are. And then that way they can self-eliminate and you get to that person that you are meant to be with a lot quicker than this roundabout and sometimes really painful road. But unfortunately, we can't eliminate all the toxic people in our life. Sometimes those toxic people are our friends, long-term friends, sometimes our family, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers. Sometimes it's our boss. Sometimes it's all of these people that are really a part of our lives and are kind of embedded in them. So the next thing is, how do you deal with that toxicity and how do you eliminate it or minimize it? And so that's in part 2 of how to get rid of toxic people by sticking to your values.